Oh, okay, I'm getting a little bit. Okay, there we go. So we are into champion select now, guys. West Side versus Salmon Humpers. Gonna be getting into the bans here. These are both teams that we have seen in the League of Legends Amateur Open before, so I think we can expect a pretty good match here.
Yeah, again, both these teams actually got really far into last week. Salmon Humpers making it all the way to the end of the losers bracket, and Westside making it into the final, but losing to Beach Kings Gaming. Again, these teams returning from last week both have been actually really good so far. Vayne Band going against Naxo there, Zach against, I already forgot who was the jungler on Salmon Humpers.
I believe that is Heiko. Heiko.
Actually,
anyway, Twisted Fate Band coming out from West Side now.
I believe. Actually, didn't they run Zach in the mid lane? I believe.
Yes, they ran Zach in the mid lane for the first game of the day.
Yes, and actually, yeah, that was Jack that had that.
Salmon and Draven. Draven actually being banned out to Salmon in response to that first game. Responded with a Caitlyn ban. We know Naxo really likes to. Or sorry, not Naxo. Was it Naxo that there's AD carry? I believe Naxo was.
And look who didn't get banned against Westside. RDX is known for his Ahri, but Thresh is locked in first.
So we will see if they decide to go for that. Looks like they wanted to prioritize the Thresh pick over anything else. So we'll see what Westside wants to pick up after that. Salmon's still deciding on their picks. Gonna see how they respond to that Thresh. Janna is being banned, so one of the really good counters to Thresh's hook is Janna's Janna's Q. If she can get it halfway through Thresh's cast, it actually interrupts them halfway through. So they will see how they decide to respond. Jarvan being hovered over though.
Yeah, and Janna is like just the one disrupting support. Her and Alistar are just known for interrupting everything. Looks like, actually, I'm going to go back to this Thresh thing. We've seen, actually, before in the LCS, some interesting interactions with Thresh and Jarvan in particular. I forget, actually, which team it was, but we saw several times where the support would interrupt the EQ combo from Jarvan with the Flay from Thresh. You just caught him out multiple times in the same game and interrupted the full-on engagement and really just stopped it in its tracks.
So we see Jarvan the 4th and Graves being picked up by Salmon Humpers. Maokai and Tristana being hovered over by Westside, actually going over to Ezreal. Westside really known for really liking their poke-heavy champions, so we'll see what they decide to go with there. What do you think about the Jarvan and Graves pick, though?
Jarvan and Graves are both... Their combo is just, again, it's back to the AoE ultimates that we've seen already in this tournament so far. Collateral damage, it's just a part of the Graves burst. If he can quick draw in, get a good buckshot onto everyone inside a Cataclysm and lay down the collateral damage on top of that, it's just a lot of AoE damage. Now with the Zed locked in, not so much AoE, he is more focused on single target, but he does have a little bit of AoE with the shurikens, with the little... I forget every single one of Zed's abilities except Death Mark, so forgive me for that.
Spinning Slash. It's Spinning Slash.
Spinning
Or Shadow Slash. No, I'm correct.
Shadow
Slash. Shadow Slash, yeah. Leona also being locked in. Really devastating bot lane combo. Can really all in anybody. Huge amounts of burst damage that can come out from Graves, comboed with Leona's Sunlight passive. So we'll see how well that works out against the Ezreal Thresh lane. Kind of a more poke-heavy lane. Morgana being hovered over here by Westside, though.
Yeah, the Graves Leona is always known for its giant burst. At least, not RDX, Naxo is actually the AD carry, even though RDX has it currently. But, yeah, Naxo, I believe, has played Ezreal a whole lot in the past couple of weeks in this tournament. And it's just kind of a good deterrent against the Leona Graves. Because with Arcane Shifts, you can get out of really any engagement as long as you're quick enough to react to it. Thresh as well is there for a little bit of disengage. You have the Flay, you have the box to stop any real engagement, but Graves and Leona aren't someone that really walk at you to engage. They quick draw in, they use the Zenith Blade to get in. They're not really too worried about walking at you, so the box isn't going to be quite as effective. So really, JKL has to be on top of his game with those plays. Assuming that they are actually in their normal roles. I'm not seeing any champion trades right now, so they might have had a little roster swap currently.
Yeah. I was about to say it's weird that Ari wasn't banned and RDX isn't picking it up, but yeah, it's possible that we could have a roster change here. RDX could be the
Actually,
new AD carry. Uh,
I'm getting way ahead of myself. JKL is the one that's actually out this week, and Spiketown Cid is in his place. So yes, it looks like
okay.
Spiketown is in the mid lane. Naxo has transitioned over to support, and RDX is back on AD carry.
Okay, that
iBuzzy
explains a lot then.
and Clock are in their normal positions. So yeah, I was a little confused there. I believe actually we had one swap as well from Salmon Humpers earlier. I forget who it was, but LuxGen is in there now. He was not in there in their first game today.
Yeah, for sure. I really like the amount of single target lockdown potential that West Side has with the Maokai snare, the snare coming down from Morgana, and Elise's stun. Sorry, I'm a little bit spaced out right now.
Cool.
Also, Naxo's got a lot of potential to lock down a single target as well. They have a lot of single target lockdown, but on the other side, we have a lot of AoE lockdown coming from the Jarvan and the Leona. But they also have a lot of single target bursts with the Zed coming out as well. It's a really interesting combination of everything that comes out from Salmon Hunter. They have good single target bursts, they have good AoE damage, they have good AoE disruption. With Vladimir's ultimate coming down, it can do a huge amount of burst damage, especially if Deknum goes onto a target that's also been affected by Vladimir's ultimate.
Yeah, the one thing I actually don't like about having the Vladimir in there though is the ultimate, the Hemoplague, is actually amplification to magic damage, but he's the only magic damage on the team. You could sort of count Leona in there with her passive and with all the little bursts she offers. She gets a little AoE in there from her Eclipse Shield along with the Solar Flare, but it's not really enough to complement the Vladimir, the damage amplification from Hemoplague. So I'm wondering if that's really just in there. Luxgen wants it for the laning phase, and then to snowball himself against. I can only guess it's Elise. Both of the solo laners in each team are actually on champions that are known for going to both top and mid. Morgana maybe
Just
a little
actually
bit.
double checked the wiki just to make sure. Vladimir affects all enemies in a target area with Virulent Plague, which increases damage taken from all sources by 12%. So,
Oh,
yeah, no, it is actually all damage that can be taken. So even like neutral minions, if they're at Baron and he hits them with Hemo Plague, Baron will deal 12% increased damage to them
yeah.
as well. So
Okay.
any damage that comes in, not just magic.
I stand extremely corrected there. So.
No worry, I wanted to make sure just in case I was wrong as well. So yeah, so LuxGen, if you can get that ultimate down combined with Zed's burst, it will probably be a dead anybody they choose.
So as long as the Hemoplague does go down first, before the rest of the Wombo combo comes in, the Solar Flare, Cataclysm, Collateral Damage, it's a huge burst that Salmon Humpers is really relying on as long as they get that combo in there like they need it to.
Absolutely, and I think LuxGen's ultimate is definitely going to be a defining factor. If you can get a good ultimate on at least 3 to 4 members of West Side and they can get their damage combo off, it's going to absolutely devastate their team.
Yeah, on the other side, it looks like most of the engagement potential is just skill shots. You have the Dark Binding, the Cocoon, the Death Sentence. As long as any of those land, they're going to get a quick pick onto anyone they catch.
Absolutely, and with the box combined with Morgana's, I can't remember her ultimate name now. Dark Chains, Soul
Soul
Shackles.
Shackles.
Soul Shackles. The combination of the slow plus Morgana's slow and into the stun with Soul Shackles is going to combine really well. It's really going to be based upon who can land their ultimates better on the enemy team.
Yeah, and a lot of these, I would say probably that West Side is a little more item dependent than Salmon would be. Especially like Spiketown Cid is going to need that. The wow, Zonia's Hourglass. I'm
Go.
really just forgetting names left and right today. I don't know why.
That's all right. Don't worry about it.
Zonia's Hour. But yeah, you're going to need all that magic penetration on Clock. You're going to need the Zonias on Spiketown Cid. And really, to get Ezreal anywhere near enough to compete with the Graves, because the Graves is actually a good lane counter to Ezreal. The True Grit really allows you to just not necessarily sustain, but it allows you to deal with the Ezreal poke a little bit better. And Aaron is my name on Leona. Eclipse, which is usually maxed first on Leona, really gives her tankiness in lane. So you're just going to have a lot of upfront burst, a lot of tankiness, and it's just going to be hard for Westside to deal with the comp they have.
Sorry, I had to check out a message there. Yeah, absolutely. It's gonna be a lot of action. I think there's gonna be a lot of action going down in this bot lane. We have two very all-in engagey supports going down with a lot of burst damage that can come out from both. So we'll see. Definitely gonna be coming down a lot to supports. Top lane is gonna be an interesting matchup with the Elise versus the Vladimir. Both range champions, both pretty known for their pokey Qs. Elise can switch over to that spider form and deal percent missing health, but in her human form to deal percent max health damage. And Vladimir is known for being a pretty innately tanky champion, so we're going to see how that works. We are getting into game here now, though.
Well, one thing about Vladimir's tankiness, it's all in his health. His passive, which I believe Crimson Pact, I believe it's called. Yes, Crimson Pact. It's his health scales with his AP and vice versa. So the more AP he gets, the more health he's going to have. The more health he has, the more AP he has. So he hasn't really built too many resistances. I would imagine him actually rushing the likes of a Spirit Visage just to really deal with the Elise percent health. But it's just the percent health against Vide is actually a pretty decent counter. At least until the items get in there.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see what build path Vladimir decides to go. You see just some standard start-offs here. Doesn't look like there's going to be anything too crazy going on. The entire Salmon Humpers just hanging out in the bottom bush, hanging out, trying to make sure no invades going down. Meanwhile, Westside just hanging around their blue buff mostly. So just going to be staying safe, keeping an eye, make sure nobody's going in for an invade. Going to be going into some standard lanes, and everything's going to be safe for the beginning.
Yeah, this isn't actually the normal defensive setup you see for blue. I could possibly see a late invade going on that Salmon would like to get on the red buff. They're not too far forward, though. They're not looking at putting any wards down quite yet, so we'll have to see what happens.
Has put down some of the saplings onto the blue buff, so it looks like it will just be standard. Salmon Humpers heading over to their blue buff, just going to help Hakai take that. I don't know how do you pronounce that properly. Hakayo?
I say Hakayo. I could be very well wrong with that. A lot of these names are... We don't have...
We do actually see RDX and Naxo heading into the blue side over there. Might be trying to get a ward over. Yeah, he does sneak the ward over. They might try to go for a little bit of a late steal. Death Sentence landing onto Zerg. They're going to pull it into the brush. Smite actually has to be used on Hakayo. So if they actually saw the Smite going down, iBuzzy might be able to run over to his red. Not a notoriously strong counter jungle, but he might be able to just Smite steal it away. It does look like he's going to head over straight to his red, though. Because he does still have Smite up.
And that's probably exactly what they were trying to do there. They were trying to give iBuzzy really the possibility of an invade, but it doesn't look like he's going to capitalize on that. He could have gone straight for Salmon's red, but really not going to take advantage of that. Smite's still up for iBuzzy actually, because he's only on his red and he's probably about to use it for himself. But no invades, no real capitalizing on the fact that the Smite is gone. Looks like iBuzzy's walking around down to this bot lane. No real vision yet, even in the lane bushes, so he should be able to get in there pretty easily.
Yeah, iBuzzy coming around here, just going to be hanging out in that bush. Looks like Nexus just waiting for Death Sentence to come up, wait for a good opportunity to go in. He has hit level 2, they're going to be engaging into here. iBuzzy and Exhaust going down onto Aaron is my name, getting snared down, has to flash away, Sapling going to chase him away. Naxo flashing, just barely missing Death Sentence actually.
That was actually a pretty good setup there that Naxo was trying to go for. Unfortunately, he did miss that Death Sentence. The angle he flashed out away from the minions was actually pretty good that if it had landed. Again, fortunately, it did not. And that was... they did burn summoners, though. They did get the flash out of Leona. Nothing, however, out of Zerg. He still has both.
The guy heading up to the top lane. I think he was spotted. No, he wasn't actually spotted. There are no wards up there. He's a little bit low. If Clock can play that right, he might actually be able to draw him out and take him down. But Kaio's just going to back off from that, play it safe.
Yeah, I think he's waiting for his potions to heal him up a little bit. He may have been spotted right there, and he probably was as soon as Clock walks into that bush. But Clock just puts down a ward of his own, so if Hakayo does go back to that lane, he will be spotted out.
Yeah, for sure. The big thing about that smite or that blue buff little tiny invade that happened there, I think the big thing was that they didn't want Jarvan to get the smiteless blue and then get the smite on his red and then immediately gain top. I think that was something they were a little bit worried about. So they tried to force the smite off the blue and delay his jungle a little bit. So it does seem a little bit successful. Did manage to stall out a gank from him for a little while. They are even in levels though. He's not set too far behind. Just took him a little bit longer to clear his jungle was all.
Yeah, and after he had to use his smite on his blue, he didn't really go straight for his red. He went through the smaller camps first. He stopped at wolves. He stopped at wraiths. He waited for that cooldown to come back up before he went for his own red buff, just to make sure he could secure it. He didn't really have any vision on it to make sure it wasn't getting counter ganked, but with seeing I buzzing in the bot lane, forcing the flash onto Aaron is my name, and actually Naxo burned both of his summoners that engagement as well, both the exhaust and flash. But he saw iBuzzy down there, he knew his red wasn't getting invaded, so he was able to wait on that cooldown and just make sure his own red buff was secured. No invades, no nothing.
Kyle hanging out the bot lane. Aaron is my name. Did just miss his Zenith Blade. Trying to play a little bit aggressive. They know they have a numbers advantage down here in bot. It looks like they're trying to catch up on something. Zerg is very low. Aaron is my name gets flayed into the tower and death sentence. Dropped very low. Flash going down from RDX trying to pick him up. Aaron has little to no HP. Heiko just coming in to make sure Aaron can get out. He will walk away though. Aaron is my name did have to burn. Oh yeah, he did have to. No, he didn't have flash for that. He actually just got away with the skin of his teeth.
Yeah, that was almost a very dead Aaron right there. One more auto attack from RDX would have finished it off, but Haikayo was there just to counter it just in time, and he was able to save his support's life. Again, no first blood going down. Gold, bang even. 6.8 and 6.8. And 6.9.
So pretty much even still.
It's close
No
enough.
big deal. Everybody's still just trying to farm it out as best as they can. Declan's getting pushed to his tower quite a bit, just because that is what a Morgana does. Hangs back, casts her Dark Pool. What's that name again? Now my client's glitching out. Tormented Soil. Tormented Soil being dropped down. Force him to his tower to farm. Zed doesn't seem to mind that too much. He's a little bit behind on CS, about 5 CS down. But he doesn't mind. He wants to get his items and get really strong as soon as he can.
And Zed's actually one of those assassins. He's one of them that has the good wave clear. He can farm relatively well under turret. Get the Shadow Slash and the Shuriken just to kind of melt the minion waves to where they're within one auto attack each of going down. And Clock actually taking kind of low in that top lane just from a few transfusions. He's out of mana now, so he's not going to be able to harass back that well.
At least he will have Spider. Oh, actually, Hemoplay going down. Flash going down from Luxgen. He's going to darken the pool, and it will get first blood down on Clock. I don't think Clock was expecting the Flash Hemoplague engage there.
Yeah, he definitely wasn't, but he was out of mana. He actually he burned his Ignite in that engagement, hoping to turn it around, but the Sanguine Pool was able to get Luxgen far enough away from the turret. They didn't take too much return damage, and he did get out of that pretty safely. Very quick first blood there. Flash ultimate pretty much melted Clock there.
We can actually see Elise has picked up a Negatron Cloak as her first item. So you can see that this lane isn't going in her way at all, and she definitely doesn't want to be dealing with this. We see a lot of people moving down towards the bottom lane. RDX and Nexo are aware of what's going on, but just gonna try and play it.
This is a 4-man stack right here for Salmon. They have to be really careful.
They are aware that Declan's there, but they don't want to see that Jarvan is there. A little bit of a hard engagement going down. Declan's actually going really hard onto RDX. Barrier being popped. Trying his best to stay alive. He will survive the death mark, but he will actually drop, taking too many tower shots. And RDX will pick up the free kill. Has to get away though. Naxo actually sees. Sorry, Naxo actually dropped to the graze. I had a little bit of lag there.
Yeah, that was a very good turnaround there. RDX was, for a second I thought he burnt the barrier way too early before the death mark was put down, but that was just the Dark Passage shield. He used the barrier just barely in time to really negate, actually I think it was almost too early to negate the damage from the death mark at the second.
Yeah, he did manage to negate a lot of the damage from a lot of his abilities, so the interesting thing is that if you don't damage through barrier, it won't actually count as damage towards death mark. So he didn't get any of that bonus damage for his ultimate. Yeah, that's actually if you like say somebody has barrier up and you try to hard engage on them, and you only do damage to their barrier, don't break the barrier, and the person dies, you won't get an assist on it. So
does that count for all
Deathmark does
shields?
the exact same thing. Yeah, exactly. So Deathmark will do the exact same thing. If you don't burst through the shield, it won't actually count towards the damage on his ultimate.
Okay, I just learned that. That's awesome. Anyway, yeah, and that was just a good turnaround overall. The ignite actually, if it had ticked down one more, would have taken out RDX, and that was used as well from Decnum in that engagement right towards the end. I want to kind of go back to this top lane for a second. We do see Hikayo sitting around up there. I can't see. Yeah, and he's getting in this. He's just sneaking up into that lane bush. I'm not sure if he was spotted by the minions or not. He probably wasn't.
No, it doesn't look like it was. Clock getting engaged on. See, Hikayo actually focusing on Clock. Clock is halting out. Kyle's trapped in his ultimate, trying his best to clear the switch around. Flashes onto Clock and picks up the kill onto him.
Yeah, Clock actually used the repel right before the Hema Plague went down, so he didn't get caught by that. No damage amplification on him. So it was really just on Hikayo to finish off that kill. The Vlad wasn't really anywhere near enough to finish that off for himself. iBuzzy not quite taking enough for turn damage to go down either, so it was just a 1-for-nothing. He's left to farm that turret, really soak up all the experience. He is out of mana though, so he's just gonna sitting there auto-attacking away. Not really getting
trying his best to just make sure he picks up as much farm as he can. Don't want to let too much experience go to waste there. But this isn't looking too good for Clock right now. He's died twice, both times when minions were near his tower or at his tower, so he's lost out on a lot of minion experience now.